Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Diri Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naitiki. So we are discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10. Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. Text number 31 onwards. So Shukdev Goswami is further replying to Parikshit Maharaj. Tvak charma mas rudir medo madhya sthit dhatvaha bhumi apta tejo maya sapta prano vyam ambuvayubhi. The 7 elements of the body, namely the thin layer on the skin itself, the flesh, the blood, fat, marrow, and bone, are all made of earth, water, and fire, whereas the life breath is produced by the sky, water, and air. The construction of the whole material body is prominently made by 3 elements, namely earth, water, and fire. But the living force is produced by sky, air, and water. So water is the common element in both the gross and subtle forms of all material creation. And it should be noted herewith that due to necessity, water being most prominent in the material creation, and in the material creation is the principal element of all the 5. So water is the principal element. This material body is thus an embodiment of the 5 elements, and the gross manifestation is perceived because of 3, namely earth, water, and fire. Sensations of touch are perceived due to thin layer on the skin, and bone is as good as hard stone. The breathing air of life is produced of sky, air, and water, and therefore open air, regular bath, and ample space in which to live are favorable for healthy vitality. Fresh produce from the earth like grains and vegetables, as well as fresh water and heat, is good for the upkeep of the gross body. So the gross body that we see is made up of earth, water, and fire prominently. And the living force, Prabhupada says, or in the shloka it says, the prana is made of sky, air, and water. So water is common. And so Prabhupada is saying that's why regular bath, open air, ample space to live is important for healthy vitality. Text 32. Gunatmakani bhutadi prabhava guna mana sarva vikaratma buddhir vijnana rupini. The sense organs are attached to the modes of material nature, and the modes of material nature are products of the false ego. The mind is subjected to all kinds of material experiences, happiness and distress, and the intelligence is a feature of the mind's deliberation. Illusioned by the material nature, the living entity identifies the false ego. More clearly, when the living entity is entrapped by the material body, he at once identifies with the bodily relationships, forgetting his own identity as spirit soul. This false ego associates with different modes of material nature, and thus the senses become attached to the modes of material nature. Okay. So the living illusion by the material nature, the living entity identifies with the false ego. The false ego, the living entity identifies as that I am this body, which the soul is not. When the living entity is entrapped by the material body, he at once identifies with the bodily relationships, forgetting his own identity as spirit soul. This false ego associates with different modes of material nature, and thus the senses become attached to the modes of material nature. So this false ego that I am this body associates with different modes of material nature because different permutations and combinations of the modes of material nature gives a different kind of body in 8,400,000 species. And then the senses, because the senses is basically the body is made up of senses. Senses, they become attached to the modes of nature. That like the body of a pig, he has this particular set of senses, so which they all act in that mode of nature. Mind is an instrument for feeling different material experiences, but intelligence is deliberative and can change everything for the better. The intelligent person, therefore, can attain salvation from the illusion of material existence by proper use of intelligence. An intelligent person can detect the awkward position of material existence and thus begin to inquire as to what he is, why is he subjected to different kinds of miseries, and how to get rid of all miseries, and thus, by good association, an advanced, intelligent person can turn towards a better life for self-realization. So the intelligence, which is a deliberation of mind, can change our dependence or our relationship with the modes of nature. Even if somebody has the mode of ignorance is prominent from his sanskaras, but the intelligence, if it is made sharp in the good association, he can get out of this, even in the mode of ignorance, he can get out of that. That's a proper say, he can turn towards a better life of self-realization. It is advised, therefore, an intelligent person associate with the great sages and saints who are on the path of salvation. By such association, one can receive instructions which are able to slacken the conditioned soul's attachment from matter. And thus the intelligent man gradually gets rid of the illusions of matter and false ego and is promoted to the real life of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. So by association, one's intelligence becomes more sharp, and with that sharp intelligence, he can cut the attachment from matter. Just like in chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita, which we are studying, Bhagavad Gita study, it says that asanga shastrena, that with the weapon of detachment, you cut your attachment to the material world, cut your living, cut that tree, the ashwatha tree of material existence. What can cut it? By the weapon of weapon or acts of detachment. And that detachment, even in that chapter, it is said, comes by the association of right people. Text 33. Etad bhagavato rupam sthulam te vyahritam maya mayadibhih chavaranayar ashtubhir bahiravrtam. Thus, by all this, the external feature of the personality of Godhead is covered by gross forms such as those of planets, which were explained to you by me. As explained in Bhagavad Gita, the separated material energy of the personality of Godhead is covered by 8 kinds of material coverings: earth, water, fire, air, sky, mind, intelligence, and false ego. All these are emanations from the personality of Godhead as His external energy. These coverings are just like the coverings of the clouds for the sun. The cloud is a creation of the sun, yet it actually covers the eyes so that one cannot see the sun. The sun cannot be covered by the clouds. The clouds can at most extend a few hundreds of miles in the sky, but the sun is far greater than millions of miles. So a 100-mile covering is not competent to cover millions of miles. Therefore, one of the various energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot, of course, cover the Lord. But these coverings are created by him to cover the eyes of the conditioned souls who want to lord it over the material nature. Actually, the conditioned souls are covered by the illusory creative clouds of matter, and the Lord reserves the right of not being exposed to their eyes. Because they have no eyes of transcendental vision, and because they cannot see the personality of Godhead, that they therefore deny the existence of the Lord and the transcendental form of the Lord. The covering of the gigantic material feature is accepted by such men with a poor fund of knowledge, and how this is so is explained in the following verse. So here, in this verse, Shukdev Goswami is speaking that the external feature of the personality of Godhead is covered by gross forms such as those of planets, which are explained to you by me. So um, Krishna's form or Krishna's the person conceiving of Krishna is covered by Krishna's external energy. Of course, the Maya cannot cover Krishna, but Maya can easily cover our eyes and our intelligence. And this is what this Maya does. And Prabhupada gives a nice example of sun and clouds. On a cloudy day, we cannot see the sun, but the sun is not covered by the clouds. Sun is too big and too far away to be covered by few clouds. What the clouds do is they cover our eyes, and we think the sun is covered. This is what Krishna also does. He covers our eyes, or his external energy covers our eyes, so we cannot conceive of Krishna. We cannot see him. But this covering is on our eyes only, and this covering is for those who do not want to surrender unto Krishna. They are the conditioned souls. Means the conditioned souls are the ones who want to enjoy the material nature nicely, very properly, to their utmost satisfaction. So Krishna orders his external energy, illusory energy, to go and cover their eyes so nicely that let them be in the illusion that I am enjoying. Actually, we cannot. But this is the illusion only. We think we are enjoying. But those who want to get out of this illusory conception of life, then Krishna's material energy also helps him. Because then that material energy, the covering of the material energy starts removing from the eyes of the person who is surrendering unto the Lord. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Devi hi esha gunamai mammaya duratyaya. Mame viya prapadyante maya me tam tarantite. That those who are this Devi hi esha gunamai, this material energy is very, very difficult to overcome. But those who surrender unto me can easily overcome it. They can easily cross over it. So this Maya then gives us a chance to see Krishna if we try to surrender. Text 34. Atha param sukshmatamam avyaktam nirvisheshanam anadi madhya nidanam nityam vang manasaha param. Therefore, beyond this gross manifestation is a transcendental manifestation, finer than the finest form. It has no beginning, no intermediate stage, and no end. Therefore, it is beyond the limits of expression of mental speculation and is distinct from material conception. So, beyond this gross manifestation or illusory manifestation is a transcendental manifestation, finer than the finest form. It has no beginning, no intermediate stage, and no end. Means it's always the same. Therefore, it is beyond the limit of expression of mental speculation and is distinct from material conception. So that spiritual form or spiritual abode of the Lord is beyond our beyond the limits of expression or mental speculation. The gross external body of the Supreme is manifested at certain intervals, and thus the external feature or form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not the eternal form of the Lord, which has no beginning, no intermediate stage, and no end. So this external feature or form of the Lord, which is the gigantic form or the universal form, is different from the spiritual form. Anything which has a beginning, interim, and end is called material. The material world is begun from the Lord, and thus the form of the Lord, from the beginning of the material world, is certainly transcendental to the finest or the finer material conception. The ether in the material world is considered to be the finest. So in the material world, ether or sky or space is considered to be the finest because that is everywhere. Finer than the ether is mind, intelligence, and false ego. So now those are the subtle elements. But even finer than that is the soul. But all 8 of the outward coverings are explained as outer coverings of the absolute truth. The absolute truth is therefore beyond the expression and speculation of the material conception. He is certainly transcendental to all material conceptions. That is called Nirvisheshanam. So Nirvisheshanam, Nirvisheshvadi, we have heard this term. Nirvishesh means, of course, Mayavadis say that means no form. That the Supreme Absolute has no form. But that's not the exact meaning. Real meaning is no material form. The Supreme has no material form. He has a spiritual form. One should not, however, misunderstand Nirvisheshanam as being without any transcendental qualifications. Visheshanam means qualities. Therefore, Nir added to it means that he has no material qualities or variegatedness. This nullifying expression is described in 4 transcendental qualifications, namely unmanifested, transcendental, eternal, and beyond the conception of mind or world. Beyond the limits of words means negation of the material conception. Unless one is transcendently situated, it's not possible to know the transcendental form of the Lord. So beyond the limits of the words means negation of material conception. It doesn't mean no spiritual form, it just means no material. So unless one is transcendently situated, it's not possible to know the transcendental form of the Lord, because he is completely transcendental. This is what even Arjuna says in chapter 12. Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram Paramam. You're beyond everything. You're topmost Brahman. And you're the topmost pure person, meaning the purest person. So only a transcendental person or transcendently situated person can know the transcendental Lord. Text 35. Amoni bhagavad rupe maya tehi anuvarnite ubhe api na grinanti maya srishte vipashita. Neither of the above forms of the Lord, as just described unto you from the material angle of vision, is accepted by the pure devotees of the Lord who know him well. The impersonalists think of the absolute personality of Godhead in 2 different ways, as above mentioned. On the one hand, they worship the Lord in his Vishwarupa, or all-pervading universal form. And on the other hand, they think of the Lord's unmanifested, indescribable, subtle form. The theories of pantheism and monism are respectively applicable to these 2 conceptions of the Supreme as gross and subtle, but both of them are rejected by the learned pure devotees of the Lord because they are aware of the factual position. This is clearly expansion in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which records Arjuna's experience of the Vishwarupa of the Supreme Lord Krishna. So, the impersonalist they think of the Lord in two ways. Either the Lord has this Vishwarupa, universal form, or he has no form. So universal form, which is material, and it's temporary. It's only in the material world, and it's like in other chapters of Bhagavatam we read that it's imaginary also. It's not real. Arjuna, as a pure devotee of the Lord, never previously saw the contemplated universal form of the Lord. It's a contemplated form. But when he did see it, his curiosities were satisfied. But he was not happy to see such a form of the Lord because of his attachment as a pure devotee. He was afraid to see the gigantic form of the Lord. He therefore prayed to the Lord to assume his four-handed Narayana or Krishna form, which alone could please Arjuna. Undoubtedly, the Lord has the supreme potency to exhibit himself in multifarious forms. But the pure devotees of the Lord are interested in his forms as eternally exhibited in the abode of the Lord, known as Tripad Vibhuti or Kingdom of God. So the pure devotees of the Lord, they are interested in only the form of the Lord that is exhibited in the spiritual world. Because with that form, they can have some loving reciprocations, loving relationships. The Lord in the Tripad Vibhuti abode exhibits himself in two forms, either with the four hands or with two hands. The Vishwarupa exhibited in the material manifestation has unlimited hands and unlimited dimensions, with everything unlimited. So that unlimited form or unlimited hands, unlimited dimensions, how can one have a loving relationship with that form? So that's not the ultimate form of the Lord. Even Arjuna got so scared looking at that form. And he said, please withdraw this form and let me see the Narayan form. Let me see the Krishna form. The pure devotees of the Lord worship him in his Vaikuntha forms as Narayan or Krishna. Sometimes the same Vaikuntha forms of the Lord are in the material world also by his grace, as Sri Ram, Sri Krishna, Sri Narasimhadeva, etc. And thus the pure devotees also worship them. Usually the features shown in the material world have no existence in the Vaikuntha tenets. And thus they are not accepted by the pure devotees. When the pure devotees worship from the very beginning are eternal forms of the Lord existing in the Vaikuntha planets. The non-devotee impersonalists imagine the material forms of the Lord and ultimately they merge in the impersonal Brahm Jyoti of the Lord, whereas the pure devotees of the Lord, worshippers of the Lord, both in the beginning and also in the perfect stage of salvation eternally. So the impersonalists, they merge in Brahm Jyoti. That is their final goal. But the problem is they cannot remain there permanently. They fall down into the material world again. But the pure devotees of the Lord, they want to worship the Lord's form known in or shown in the Vaikuntha lokas. And this is what they do during and after attaining perfection also. The worship of the pure devotee never stops, whereas the worship of the impersonalist stops after his attainment of salvation. When he merges in a personal form of the Lord known as the Brahm Jyoti. Therefore, the pure devotees of the Lord are described here as Vipashchita, or the learned who are in the knowledge of the Lord perfectly. So that is the real knowledge, to know the Lord, to know the personal features of the Lord and to have the relationship with him. So I'll stop here. See anybody have any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, what is this Tripad Vibhuti Dham? Where is it?
Tripad Vibhuti. So Tripad means three legs. So like we studied earlier, that the material creation is 1/4 of the whole creation. So the spiritual creation is 3/4. So that is called 3/4 is Tripad and material is Ekpad. So one leg is here and three legs. I mean, just to understand, 3/4 is the spiritual and 1/4 is material.
Okay. The term Dham means Vaikuntha Dham is it? Dham is like.
Dham is Vaikuntha, yes.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? So I guess we can stop here. You all have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri
Thank you
Prabhupada.
very much, Babuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.